Understanding Strong's Concordance G5495. Here. Background information about modern Greek, Koine Greek, Homeric Greek, etc.
Stefania here. Welcome to Ask a Teacher, where I'll answer some of your most common Greek questions. The question for this lesson is, can I understand ancient Greek if I learn modern Greek? Ancient Greek is a very general term for all the different forms of Greek that existed before modern and medieval Greek. Archaic and classical Greek, with their many dialects such as Attic, Doric, Ionic, and Aeolic, among others, are ancient Greek, as well as Koine Greek, the common language of the Byzantine Empire. The gap between these forms of ancient Greek and today's modern Greek, officially called Demotic Greek, grows or becomes smaller depending on the era and dialect. The older the Greek, the more different it is from modern Greek. You might be wondering, how different is ancient Greek from modern Greek? Well, although the alphabet hasn't changed much since the classical period, the grammar and accentuation system have been simplified today. Apart from the active and the passive voice, there used to be a middle voice, as well as a dative case, along with a nominative, genitive, accusative, and vocative case. Ancient Greek uses infinitives in a way that modern Greek doesn't. The optative verb mood, as well as some diacritics, didn't survive, and there used to be an extra number called dual, apart from the singular and the plural. Many words, of course, have changed, as well as the endings of inflected words, and the formation of tenses and other verb forms. Here are some examples. Το είδωρ σημαίνει νερό στα αρχαία ελληνικά. Είδωρ means water in ancient Greek. Το πυρ σημαίνει φωτιά στα αρχαία ελληνικά. Πυρ means fire in ancient Greek. So now you might be wondering if a native Greek speaker understands any ancient Greek at all. Depending on the era and dialect, ancient Greek might be totally incomprehensible even to a native Greek, like the archaic Greek in the works of Homer, also called Homeric Greek, or somewhat comprehensible, like the Koine Greek of the New Testament. Actually, many people ask me if studying modern Greek will help them understand the New Testament. Koine Greek is not that far from modern Greek. Most educated Greeks would probably understand a large part of it because of the language feel and instinct. Also because ancient Greek is taught in high schools, and there are still relics of it in modern Greek. Nonetheless, a translation is always required, and there are always many high school students who really struggle and end up going to cram schools to keep up. Here are some more examples. Ο Όμηρος αναφέρεται στη θάλασσα ως als. Homer refers to the sea as als. Δόξα τω Θεώ τα κατάφερα. Thank God I made it. A native Greek speaker who has never studied ancient Greek would struggle understanding it and would misinterpret even text in the somewhat more familiar Koine Greek. A non-native who is just studying modern Greek would recognize a few familiar words here and there, but overall, a piece of ancient Greek text wouldn't make much sense, if any sense, unless his or her fluency is near native level. To give you an idea, at first sight, the gap between Homeric Greek and modern Greek is probably near as great as the gap between Old English and modern English, while the gap between Koine Greek and modern Greek is probably similar to the gap between Middle English and modern English, with Classical Greek being somewhere in between. Here are some sample sentences. Η κοινή φράση της μετρητής είναι σεπτός ειδωτική. The common phrase της μετρητής is in the dative case. Ευζήν σημαίνει το να ζεις καλά. Ευζήν means to live well. Coming back to the initial question, can I understand ancient Greek if I learn modern Greek? My answer would have to be, not really. So my advice is to focus on whatever Greek you need to know, either ancient or modern, without any expectation that by learning one you will easily understand the other.
Koine Greek and the New Testament. Koine Greek, also known as Alexandrian dialect, Common Attic, Hellenistic, or Biblical Greek, was the common supra-regional form of Greek spoken and written during the Hellenistic period, the Roman Empire and the early Byzantine Empire. It evolved from the spread of Greek following the conquests of Alexander the Great in the 4th century before the birth of Christ, and served as the lingua franca of much of the Mediterranean region and the Middle East during the following centuries. It was based mainly on Attic and related Ionic speech forms, with various admixtures brought about through dialect leveling with other varieties. Koine Greek included styles ranging from more conservative literary forms to the spoken vernaculars of the time. As the dominant language of the Byzantine Empire, it developed further into medieval Greek, which then turned into modern Greek. Literary Koine was the medium of much of post-classical Greek literary and scholarly writing, such as the works of Plutarch and Polybius. Koine is also the language of the Christian New Testament, of the Septuagint, the 3rd century before the birth of Christ Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, and of most early Christian theological writing by the Church Fathers. In this context, Koine Greek is also known as Biblical, New Testament, ecclesiastical or patristic Greek. The Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius also wrote his private thoughts in Koine Greek in a work that is now known as the Meditations. Koine Greek continues to be used as the liturgical language of services in the Greek Orthodox Church. The different Greek ages. Since 1453, modern Greek. Between 330 years and 1453 years after the death of Christ, medieval Greek. Between 300 years before the birth of Christ and 330 years after the death of Christ, Koine Greek. Between 300 years before the birth of Christ and 800 years before the birth of Christ, ancient Greek. Between 1100 years before the birth of Christ and 1600 years before the birth of Christ, Mycenaean Greek. The 3rd millennium before the birth of Christ, Proto-Greek. Koine Greek derives from Homeric Greek, and Homeric Greek has Indo-European roots. Apostle John, the son of Zebedee, a Galilean, fisherman, and the brother of James, spoke and wrote both Koine Greek and Homeric Greek. John was also fluent in Aramaic, Hebrew, and Latin. Apostle John was a prisoner on the Greek island called Patmos. Roman Emperor Domitian made Apostle John a prisoner on the Greek island called Patmos for having preached the gospel of Jesus Christ throughout the Middle East. The next Roman emperor after Domitian was Nerva. Roman Emperor Nerva freed all the Patmos island exiles. Apostle Paul was born in Tarsus, Cilicia, which is in Asia Minor or modern-day Turkey. Apostle Paul was a Jew living in Asia Minor. He became a Pharisee before Jesus Christ blinded him in the desert and reached out to him. Ecclesiastical Greek is Koine Greek or Biblical New Testament Greek. Understanding Strong's Concordance number 5495. Here. Originally, the word here denoted the whole arm plus hand. Ancient Greek is closer to its Proto-Indo-European root script language than modern Greek. The noun here means hand, arm. It stems from a hugely old Proto-Indo-European root ges. Ancient Greek is an Indo-European language and a branch of the Greek language. Modern Greek is a newer version of Ancient Greek and other contemporary languages of the same nature. My critics keep insisting that Strong's number 5495, here, only means hand when it doesn't, not necessarily. I'm on the studylight.org website. Let's observe some biblical lexicons. Old and New Testament Greek Lexical Dictionary. Strong's number 5495.
Chείr, chείr, chείr.
Let's read the origin of the word. Perhaps from the base of G5494, in the sense of its congener the base of G5490, through the idea of hollowness for grasping. Let's read Thayer's definition. By the help or agency of anyone, by means of anyone, figuratively applied to God symbolizing his might, activity, power, in creating the universe. In upholding and preserving, God is present protecting and aiding one. In punishing, in determining and controlling the destinies of men. Next, let's read the Strong's definition. Perhaps from the base of G5494 in the sense of its congener the base of G5490, through the idea of hollowness for grasping, the hand, literally or figuratively power, especially by Hebraism a means or instrument. Hand. Let's read the Mount's definition. Hand, area or portion of the hand, power, control. Lastly, let's read the Liddell Scott Jones definitions, particularly the second one. Hand and arm, arm. Bill 6.81, etc. Hence, words are added to denote the hand as distinct from the arm. I'm on Bill Mounce's website. Who exactly is Bill Mounce? Bill is the founder and president of biblicaltraining.org, serves on the Committee for Bible Translation, which is responsible for the NIV translation of the Bible, and has written the best-selling biblical Greek textbook, Basics of Biblical Greek, and many other Greek resources. He was the New Testament chair for the English Standard Version, and speaks and blogs regularly on issues relating to trusting the Bible, the pastoral epistles, 1 and 2 Timothy, and Titus, Greek, and issues of spiritual growth. Bill was also a preaching pastor, a professor of New Testament and director of the Greek language program at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary, and a professor at Azusa Pacific University. Education. Bill obtained his PhD in 1981 in New Testament from Aberdeen University, in Aberdeen, Scotland. Bill obtained his master in 1977 in Biblical Studies from Fuller Theological Seminary in Pasadena, California. Bill got his Bachelor of Art in 1975 in Biblical Studies and a minor in Greek from Bethel College in St. Paul, Minnesota, and Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green, Kentucky, between 1971 and 1974. Poem. Biblical Greek. 14. Relative pronouns. Vocabulary for Chapter 14. Here. Definition. Hand, arm, finger. Erasmian.
Cheir, cheir.
Modern.
χείρ, χειρός, χείρ, χειρός.
Cognates. Chirography is writing. The chiromancer is a palmist, a palm reader. Scriptures to consider. Luke 1 verse 66. All who heard took these things to their heart, saying, What, then, will this child be? For the hand, here, of the Lord was with him. Luke 1 verse 71. That we should be saved from our enemies, and from the hand, here, of all who hate us. Abarim Publications Biblical Dictionary, the New Testament Greek word. Here. The noun, here, means hand. It stems from a hugely old Proto-Indo-European root guess, and survives in English in such useful words as chironomy, the art or science of gesticulation, chiromancy, hand-palm reading, and of course chiropractor, which in theory denotes someone who puts his helping hands on one's moving parts. Our word is the Greek equivalent of the Hebrew noun, yad, which means both hand and power, and it occurs 178 times in the New Testament. See full Concordance. Human hands are unique in the animal world. We share our hallowed opposable thumb with the other primates, but ours can move much wider across our palms, and that makes our hands uniquely nimble and dexterous. Because of the physical versatility of our hands, but perhaps more so, because of what our hands mean to our personal identity and our collective identity, our hands became revered in ways that are no longer clear to us moderns, but which still linger in our verbal expressions. Our hands allow us to grab, move and appropriate things, which is why we say the things we control are in our hands, Genesis 24 verse 10, Deuteronomy 1 verse 25. But originally, our word, here, denoted the whole arm plus hand, and thus corresponds rather to our sense of embracing something or someone, to be passionate about something or someone. I'm back on Bill Mounce's website. Let's read Revelation 13, verse 16. Revelation 13 verse 16. He also caused everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand, hirosh, or on their forehead. Let's hear the modern Greek pronunciation of Strong's G5495 again, the word for hand or arm or finger.
χείρ, χειρός, χείρ, χειρός.